Okie doke. Hello. Welcome everyone to the Social Exchange Drams from Afar Wednesday edition. It's lovely to be back here on the balcony. As you can see, it's a much nicer day than it was last week. I got a couple of comments about getting blown away, so hopefully the weather holds and we don't get torrential rain any second. So far, so good. So, I've got a couple of things to discuss with you today. First up, most importantly, I hope everyone's staying safe. Still a really crazy time, but I feel like maybe we're settling into it a little bit better and it's not quite as shocking to have to stay home. I hope everyone's finding things to amuse themselves, which actually leads me into my next point. So my crew and I, the exchange ambassadors, have come up with a little competition. Basically, we just wanted to help you keep entertained at home. So it's called Isolation Impressions. And basically what you've got to do is you've got to do your best impression of somebody. This week that somebody is Sean Connery. And you have to then post that to Instagram. Put at the exchange AUS, that's THEXCHANGEAUS, the exchange Oz. And tag your brand ambassador, i.e. myself, Tom, Cam, Brendo or Brady. And at the end of the week, Cameron on Friday will look through all of those videos and decide on the best one, and that person will win a $100 voucher to a restaurant voucher to the venue of their choice. Obviously you won't be able to attend it in person, but you will be able to get some delicious either pickup or home delivery. So, Sean Connery. Now, I've been asked to share with you my Sean Connery impersonation. It's really bad. So I will, but please don't judge me. I thought in sticking with the booze theme, I would go with the very famous line, but please don't laugh at me. Okay, it goes like this. I'll have a martini, shaken, not stirred. Okay, that was really embarrassing, but that's over and done with now. So, next on the agenda, I'm going to be talking about a couple of cocktails today. First of all, though, I will tell you about the bourbon I am using to make at least one of them. This is Bakers. So last week I spoke to you about Knob Creek, and we went into a little bit of the history of the Beam small batch collection. Bakers is another one of those bourbons. It's named after Baker Beam, who was Booker Noe's cousin and worked alongside him in the distillery. Baker was really well known in Kentucky just for riding around on his Harley and signing people's t-shirts in bottle shops because he's a Beam, and in Kentucky Beam are royalty. So Baker designed this little bourbon himself. It is 107 proof. And it's aged 7 years. Now, this particular bourbon comes from the barrels at the very top of the rack house, okay? So there's a lot of wood interaction. Because those barrels are getting a lot of heat, because they're up high, they're expanding and contracting a lot. So there's a lot of wood interaction, obviously, and it's an overproof bourbon. So it's got some heat going on there. We'll have a little taste, shall we? Yeah, see, it's still got all of those signature sweet bourbon notes. So we've got caramel, we've got all that dark sweetness that I keep talking about, brown sugar, that sort of, we're not talking about like boiled lollies, we're talking about chewy toffee, caramel, these kinds of flavors. Yeah, it's really good. The wood notes are giving it obviously oaky sort of, but a bit of spice coming through, which is really nice. It's made as a low rye bourbon, so there's, I'm going to say, roughly 12% rye in there, with around 60% corn. So, enough bourbon geeking out over mash bills. What are we going to use Bakers for? We are going to make a Boulevadier. I do love this cocktail. I remember how excited I was when I first discovered that you could make a Negroni but using bourbon. So part of what I wanted to talk about, I'm going to put 20 mils in here, okay, just so that you know, 20 mils. Part of what I'm going to talk about is this favorite idea of mine that once you know one cocktail recipe, you often know many just by knowing a little formula. This is Rosso Antico. I'm going to put another 20 mils of that. Right, now normally I would use Cinzano's Sweet Vermouth, but I didn't have any of that, and I did have some of this. So rather than go out and buy another bottle, I decided to use what we have. And Campari, 20 mils of. So you can see it's exactly the same recipe as a Negroni, but I have put bourbon in instead of gin. Now this little cocktail, I'll just fill this with ice. Okay, that's filled with ice. Now I'll fill my other glass with ice. There we go. Okay, this little cocktail, Boulevadier, roughly, or translates to, oh, it's quite sticky, there we go, roughly translates to Man About Town, right? It came into existence in the 1920s, so we've got a little scene going on here. 1927, Paris. There were a fair few Americans about, because in America in 1927, or all through the 1920s, was a little thing called prohibition, which meant that it was illegal to, give that a little wipe, there we go, which meant that it was illegal to either sell or consume alcohol. So a lot of Americans, wealthy young Americans, escaped to Paris. One of these escapees was Harry McElroy, who went to Paris and set up Harry's New York Bar in Paris. You may have heard of it, it's pretty famous. One of the patrons was a fella by the name of Erskine Gwynn. So he was quite famous in and of himself. He was the editor of a little magazine called the Boulevadier. And he went along to Harry's New York Bar and said, "Can you make this for me?" Harry did, and the rest is history. Harry published it in his cocktail book, 1927, Barflies and Cocktails. Let's have a taste. Yeah, it's really good. Any questions, babe?
Daniel Beale wants to know if you can talk like Sean Connery for the whole session.
No, is the short answer. You would get really sick of it really quickly. But thanks for asking. I guess that means that you liked the impression, so that's a big thumbs up for me. Yeah, so Erskine Gwynn invented the Boulevadier. If you're interested in having a look at barflies and cocktails, you actually can just jump online, jump onto the Google machine and type in barflies and cocktails, and there's a virtual book online which is just photos of the old book, so you can flick through and see all the old recipes. It's super cool, and this drink is mentioned in that book. It's not in the main part of the book, it's at the appendix at the back. And alongside it is another drink that I am going to talk to you about, but I'm not going to talk about the history of Canadian Club, because my mate Tom Scott is going to talk to you all about that tomorrow night. So jump onto his socials tomorrow and he'll tell you all about Canadian Club. All I am going to do is tell you about a drink called the Old Pal. Okay, so the Old Pal is along the same lines as the Negroni and the Boulevadier. A lot of people, well, everyone will tell you these days that it's made with Canadian Club and Campari and dry vermouth. However, if you look back at barflies and cocktails and have a look at the ingredients, it calls for an Italian vermouth, which is the sweet vermouth. So I'm taking that to mean that this was the original recipe. Same ingredients, basically. Canadian whiskey, not bourbon whiskey. I'm going to chuck this over the side. There we go. There's nothing down there, don't worry. I'll move that out of the way and I will make this drink for you. So this just goes to show, right, that once you... Oh, I can't open this. Could you open it for me, please? Thank you. It's a bit stiff. Oh, there we go. No, it wasn't difficult for him at all. How embarrassing. 20 mils of Canadian Club. So, as I was saying, this goes to show that if you know the recipe for one drink, often you know the recipe for lots of drinks. So right here, we've got a Negroni, a Boulevadier, an Old Pal. And if you leave the hard liquor out of it altogether and just put your sweet vermouth and your Campari and then top it with soda, it's one of Mods' favourite drinks. It's an Americano.
Hell yes.
He's agreeing with me. Cool. Okay, another 20 mils. Go. We might need some more Campari, babe. Not right now. Cool. I'm going to stir this again. Dropping ice everywhere again. Seems to be my signature move, is dropping ice. Right, we'll give that a bit of a mix just until the tin kind of goes frosty. Then you know that it's cold enough. Right. That looks good to me. Now this is served up, right? It's not served over ice. It's served in a little glass. I don't actually think this glass is going to be big enough, but I didn't have any larger coupes. I just got this one at St. Vinny's quite a while ago. Oh no, it's perfect. Yeah, you can pick up sets of 4 of them for like a couple of bucks. They're super cool to have around home. And then we will just put another orange twist in here. Give it a little wipe. There we go. And that is an Old Pal. Oh yeah, it's really yummy, and it does actually taste quite different. Obviously, the Canadian Club is much milder in flavour than the Bakers. Yeah, they're both great drinks. Okay, does anyone have any questions? No? No, Mod's is shaking his head at me. Okay, cool. Well, remember... What? Oh, yeah. He wants the drink. There we go. Remember, stay safe. And remember, don't go out this Easter. Stay home with your family or FaceTime all your mates. I hope that everybody is well. Yeah, just stay cool, have fun, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers, guys.
David Danby, when did you have your first shot of bourbon? It's still on.
Oh, okay. Danby's just asked, when did I have my first shot of bourbon? I reckon my first shot of bourbon was when I was around 25.
When she was around 6.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.